Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the College Football Uncensored podcast brought to you by Saturday Down South. I'm your host, Tyler Huck, and with me, as always, in a beautiful Masters hat, it appears, Chris Marler.
And I have good news for you.
You do?
Uh-huh.
Are we going to the Masters?
No, that's not funny.
Oh.
That's not
No,
funny.
I'm not laughing
about it. This is from one of my favorite listeners and good friends, Jeff Williams. He got me this hat, and he got you one too, Tyler.
Oh, you didn't tell me that before.
I know, that's the whole point. We're gonna do it on the show. It's
Okay.
It's just the whole thing. Are there comments being made? I can't see shit because it says I'm not logged in. Yeah, there we go.
There are.
Wait,
did Georgia officially get? Did Georgia officially get the Dylan Raiola kid?
I tell you what. Here's
so.
what we do, and I'm not happy for you, Ben Diesel. I need a break from Georgia quarterback talk because we're already going to talk about it in the show. I just need a fucking break. I feel like it's been like 70% of every podcast in the SEC everywhere for a while now. Also, he's like, what year is he? It's a silent commit. Fuck off, Ben Davis.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we're not going to be talking about silent commits in here.
Well, it doesn't sound like it's so silent. You got the biggest mouth in here, dude.
Yeah.
No, but I have seen that. A lot. It also, like, the fact that he's like looking at like Nebraska is even like mentioned is fucking mind blowing.
Well, I think his like uncle is a coach there.
His what?
His uncle is Dominic Raiola, like famous Nebraska.
And he was like boss and fucking Fast and Furious.
I'm pretty sure he's in. I think he was like a huge deal back in the day for Nebraska, and he coaches there now as well. So
I'm telling you right now, if your name is Dominic Raiola, you are going to be a 2-guard at fucking St. John's, and you're not going to be playing college football. So
okay.
Anyway, no, we'll talk about all that. There were 31 spring games on.
It's amazing.
Was it? Because you had to stream them.
We watched every single one of them.
Well,
we're gonna go play by play on each one.
Let me reset the frame. Let's break this down. There was a lot of, like, I think Georgia dominated most of the story. We'll talk about one thing we learned from each, which I know sounds super, super bland and boring and cliche, and it is. But it's also like there's not a lot of news that comes from.
Yeah, it's a lot of vanilla. You're not seeing a ton of the offense or the defense.
You see the South Carolina coach though, the OC?
South Carolina's OC? No, I didn't see what he said.
They were asking him, and he already just looks like he's like fucking constantly mad. He has the whole Matt Luke, like trying to pick his kids up from the pool and they won't get out yet, like type fucking attitude. Like he's just not having it. And so somebody asked him, they were like, like what to expect. And he's like, yeah, you know what this is. We're not going to show anything. It's going to be super boring, really vanilla. You already know that. Don't ask. I was like, I made it.
All right.
Me when I'm having sex. I didn't say that.
Do we just want to hop into them then?
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple of fun things that happened this weekend. I think I need to log in or something. It says I'm not logged in.
To what?
I don't know. To life. I mean, okay. It's whatever. As long as everything's working. We'll talk about all that. John Rice Plumlee had a big weekend. It felt like, this is going to sound stupid, but I was so excited when I woke up on Saturday because there was like football on, and it was like there were so many different games. And like people were talking about it on social media, and I felt like I pissed off a few Tennessee fans. Like, it felt like
someone gave us a 1-star rating on iTunes because of that.
Saw that. That's not why, but you know what? And I'll just say it. Like, we're gonna get those, and then I fucking cry about it. Like, I don't. What do you want? What do you want us to? I think Tennessee's great. Maybe I'm biased against Tennessee. We haven't said a lot of positive things about Tennessee, and that's probably because I spent most of last year having to sift through fucking horrible things from Tennessee. Like, Tennessee fans are. It's funny because there's a lot of them listen to the show that I love. There's like some of like the. I feel like a pretty big contingent of like our female listeners are either Tennessee or Georgia. There's like a few LSU, but two of the ones that I like are like my favorite even to follow, like on Instagram. They're hilarious. They're normal people. Like they're just normal people. Most Tennessee fans are like assholes, and they wear it like a badge of honor.
I think you're painting him into a corner there.
I probably am. And you know what? And I don't really care because I think that like a lot of times that is like how like whatever. Tennessee is going to be very good, and I think that we were more than complimentary, but I don't know what you want me to say about how great they're going to be. Do you think Joe Milton looked great?
No. I mean, no, I don't think he looked great. I've never thought he's been great.
You know what I should have said, Tyler? Fuck it, my bad. What I should have said was, I'm sorry we don't always say nice things about your teams. We try to be as objective as possible. I'm sure there's gonna be times when like our own fandoms might even be sprinkled into our takes.
Yep.
But at some point, everyone's gonna get their feelings hurt.
100%.
And we'll just move on like adults. I have my feelings hurt constantly from Tyler.
Let's start with another orange team. Let's talk about Texas.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting that after the game, Sark came out and said Quinn Ewers, he is named the starting QB. Essentially, after a really good game from Malik Murphy, the backup, you got to think he's going to go to the portal now, and I think he's going to be a huge name to look at. I mean, think about the teams. You know, there's a team in Florida, the University of, that could use one. So
they'll turn him into a fucking like safety or something. Billy Napier's not gonna. I don't think Billy Napier wants a quarterback. I think he like is like. I feel like he's maybe just Florida in general. I feel like he's looking at like quarterback play, like in the same way that people are like, I don't trust the internet, dude. I don't like. I'm not gonna order anything online. I'm gonna go to the store, brick and mortar, and that's how I'm gonna pay all my bills too.
Yeah. Well, so Texas, this is like we said, year 3 of Sark's offense. Quinn Ewers in year 2. Think he was a little banged up last year. Obviously, he got hurt against Bama. I think he was banged up for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
You get Xavier Worthy back. You get the kid from the top transfer last year, Isaiah Nayor. He's back from a torn ACL.
And A.D.
Mitchell, who made a nice catch in this game. I think Texas, I'm not going to say they're back because that's what everybody says.
Mm-hmm.
But I think their offense is going to be really legit this year.
And by the way, we like to pat ourselves on the back. I've been saying this since last year. The whole thing about Quinn Ewers, like Quinn Ewers is he's a really good quarterback. I'm not going to say they're back because I already thought they were back. What's up, Jeff Williams? If you're just joining now, we did it. So thank you again. No, so the thing about Texas, like, and we've been saying about the quarterback situation, was as soon as Arch Manning committed, I still think that was easily the best place he should have gone. Easily. And I think we all kind of counted out like the third guy, right? And even now we're kind of assuming he's going to go to the portal. Ewers should have been the starter since like day one. The competition will be great for him, but I never thought that like Arch was going to just walk in and take the job. And so you had last year, people were kind of assuming like, if Arch starts since day one, like is Ewers going to transfer? And now you've already had people on message boards saying like Arch is not as what we thought it was. And he threw like 3, he didn't look great at times, but he's a freshman. Yeah. He should still be in high school.
Yeah.
And he's on a huge stage at Texas. And like, I just never have been to the thought like in college football that it's a bad idea to sit and like learn the game and like develop and all that kind of shit. Which is like he'll get a chance to do that now.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting to watch. What do you want to get into next?
Real quick about the Texas thing. I want to talk about this. You gotta knock out this one person in the comments, dude. So this the thing about Texas, like I think it's a delicate situation with quarterback because the quarterback is like you already said, it's going to be Ewers. You said it coming off the field, and that may have already just been the case that everyone probably figured in that locker room even. But the thing with like with the portal now, we've even said, I said it before this episode, you brought it up today. We assume that Malik is going to transfer, right? Because they have Arch and they have Quinn.
Right.
He might be better than Arch this year. Like he might be a serviceable backup, and he might like be the guy that's to come off the bench if Quinn gets hurt again, and then finish the rest of the year. Even that being said, is it a delicate situation to like? If like does like Arch lose a bunch of confidence if he's third string? Is it bad like with optics if he's third string? Because like now you have to play, that all has to come into play if like you don't want to take the kid's confidence by any means and maybe just have an ongoing competition for 2. But I mean, I don't know. Because like it was Morris or is it Malik Murphy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looked really good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to follow what happens there. And this portal window is I think it's only open for like 2 weeks. So
Yeah,
better jump in now, or you're pretty much committed.
the IRS will find you. Also, Jim
Uh,
Edwards says, "Is Arch the first Manning not to start from the beginning?" He is not, because Peyton actually didn't start his very first year until I think it might have been the Bama game.
Interesting. One thing that I do want to clear up that we had talked about before is, and I guess we could jump into Georgia now with Brock Vandagriff. To me, it seems like Carson Beck has cemented himself as the starter after that spring game.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about Gunnar Stockton being kind of tied to Bobo, and now that he's the OC, I would expect him to remain. So we speculated that where could Vandagriff fit? Florida, Auburn. I believe there is a rule within the SEC specifically that in this second portal window you cannot transfer within the conference.
Yeah, I wish I would have known that before. I just kept openly saying he was going to go to Auburn.
Yeah. Okay, I did want to clear that up because I didn't know that either.
Well, I wish you would have cleared it up much earlier until I said it, or before I said it over and over and over again. Also, I didn't want to get into Georgia yet because I was still trying to add up something for a point I was going to make.
All right. Well, you want to go to Ohio State?
Yeah, we want to talk about Florida since that was the first one.
All right, go for it.
So, I want to ease into the show and instead of just getting into the nitty gritty, let's have some fun and talk about who's sadder than Marler. We can bring that segment back for sure.
Okay. All right.
And I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, we were going to do one thing we learned, or I was going to do one good thing about every team, like in the SEC, that had a spring game. Like, that's one positive thing. And then I kept watching part of the Florida replay, and I was like, I don't know if I can do that. And then I don't think the sky is falling, but then I also was like, I caught myself thinking you don't want to ever overreact to spring games. And I was thinking that like presently. And then the next thought I had was also, I think Dan Mullen might have absolutely ruined this program forever and they'll never return.
No.
That was the transition of thoughts. Like, don't overreact. Don't make a big deal out of nothing. It's a spring game. To being like, I think Florida should probably shut down the football program forever.
I mean, Napier's got a top 3 class right now for 2024. So that could be, but yeah, it does sound like Florida fans are starting to get a little perturbed, especially for basically going after Graham Mertz, coming out and saying that we evaluated every quarterback in the portal. We picked him out of everybody.
That was the thing. That was the one thing that stood out to me more than anything else. It was 24 dudes.
Yeah.
And I think the reasoning that he probably had when he said that was probably trying to say but actually now I don't know, because there's still a QB competition. So it's like, if you're saying it to put confidence in the pick and tell me, hey, that's our guy, you want to let him know that you're going to bat for him, that's one thing. But if you have an open QB battle and you had 24 quarterbacks, that tells me you either are lying or you're just you're lying about getting turned down from 23 of them.
Yeah.
It's bad.
So apparently, and it seems to be more than rumor at this point, but I've never seen it confirmed by someone. The whole Coastal Carolina, their QB, Florida thought that they were getting him, and his transcripts weren't very good. He wasn't going to get into Florida.
What? Oh, what?
So Grayson McCall, so he went back to Coastal Carolina.
Hold on, McCall's back at Coastal Carolina?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, so here's the other thing too. I'm just going to say this: this is created, even though this is my job, it's very hard to keep up with who the fuck is everywhere when it's not September through when it's August and we we're getting into season mode, fine, but it is so much to keep up with the other 8 months of the year. How the fuck did a starting quarterback, a Division I starting quarterback off of a ranked team, not have good enough transcripts to get into a school?
Yeah, I don't. That's the rumor.
That is tough.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I see that there are people in the comments that are a little perturbed about losing their number 1 tight end recruit today.
Yeah, Georgia needs another tight end. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, we can talk about Georgia now. It's fine. Whatever.
Yeah.
I just
But yeah, dude. But Florida, not only QB, but their O-line, it's looking like a bit of a mess. Now, there's still time to figure it out in the portal, bring in some pieces, but man, look, they need a lot on the O-line, and that's going to be probably the most coveted position in the portal. So I don't know that you're going to get the cream of the crop there.
I don't think they get the cream of the crop anytime.
Yeah.
It really, this is one of those things. I think, like, I remember saying this when, like, Georgia didn't do a very good job of taking advantage during Mark Richt's era there, like during like a time when the East was kind of down, and in Tennessee was down, historically down. Florida was pretty inconsistently bad. It had some very average teams win the SEC East. I mean, like, this is to go from where they were to now this quickly, and I mean strictly from a recruiting standpoint, is just surprising, because it's like you would think at a school like that with deep pockets, like it's a 60,000 student school, like a massive, massive alumni, like one of, like, you know, they're good at almost everything, it seems like. And now all of a sudden it's like, now we're in this new era where, like, you get to, like, you know, you don't just get to look and see like the front of the house, you actually get to come inside and see it. It's like, oh God, this is like rotting from the inside. Like, what the fuck is happening? Like, looks super pretty on the outside. Like, you did a great job staging it online. And then you get into, I don't know what I'm talking about. You guys know I don't know real estate. But then, like, you know, like the fact that they're having issues, like, financially with some of the facilities and how bad the facilities were before, it's just weird.
Yeah, and look, I mean, with recruiting, it seems like it's getting better for the future. But then again, you go out and have a 7-5 season, or you miss a bowl game again. I don't see a number 2. I think it's currently ranked number 2 or 3 recruiting class sticking around. So they're just in a tough spot, and it's so important, especially in this new age. It's really not new anymore, but where the signing day is, you know, before, basically, like, right after you get hired as a head coach. That first year is a wash when it comes to recruits, and it's, chances are you're taking over a coach who didn't do a great job before you.
Right.
It's hard to get it turned around fast, and Florida's fans are gonna have to have patience. I don't know that they're known for that, so we'll see. But
all right,
yeah, an auspicious start. Georgia.
Talk about Florida, Georgia.
So it seems like Carson Beck's the guy, right?
It's not in question. And I think that, like, as we got further into spring camp and you just talk to people that are close to the program, and, like, I don't think it's even a knock on Vandergriff or the other kid whose name I'm intentionally trying to forget, because it's like Gunnar Hoke Rock. It's a very, very Southern bro name. Gunnar Stockton.
Yep.
He just sounds like he was born in the back of a fucking Ford Raptor. That being said, so, like, I don't know if Vandergriff stays. I don't know at all. The story of the day was Carson Beck. And as it got closer, like Aaron Murray, especially, like, he's been just glowing about Carson being in that room. And it's a guy that's been there for 3 years. He was also a very high recruit. Like, he was a 4-star, top 100 guy. Originally, I think, like, was, you know, either rumored or he's committed to Florida, decided to go to Georgia. Very talented kid. I'm going to tell you the biggest takeaway I had from the Georgia spring game. And I'm going to say this one specifically because we have to record this for social media. And then I'm going to tell you the other one off air that is we can't put on social media.
Okay.
The thing that like made me feel the most confident that Georgia is not going to skip, like, or miss a beat with losing Todd Monken. And the thing that made me the most confident that Bobo is going to just continue what they did a year ago and just plug and play happened on Saturday. Because you look at the first half, Carson Beck was 10 of 11 at one point. And I know it's a spring game, but anytime you go 18 of 22 at all, especially against probably the best defense that he's going to face all season. He faced it on Saturday in April, and he went 18 of 22, had a great day. The thing that impressed me most, the thing that stood out the most, he hit 10 different receivers in his first 11 completions. Georgia, I've said over and over again, does a better job than any other team in the country at spreading the wealth and spreading the football and getting the hands into different playmakers. Brock Bowers is a huge part of this offense, has been for 2 years. You don't see him with an overwhelming amount of the receptions week in and week out or at the end of the season. He had 11 guys last year with 11 different guys last year with a touchdown reception, I should say. They do a better job of spreading the football around to their skill guys, the running backs, receivers, tight ends, than any other team in the country. And it's the first thing you saw them do with a new quarterback and a new system and a bunch of new players. On top of that, one thing because of all the like Mechie and Williams jokes people have made about the receiver injuries since they won that natty 2 years ago, Georgia's had a lot of injuries at receiver. They've been down at receiver a lot. This is the healthiest and deepest receiver room they've had in I don't even know how long. They're like I don't know where the fuck Kirby is finding this many white kids to be on the field at the same time. It's staggering. There's got to be like a factory or something. They're just getting made in because they have another Brock Bowers.
Oh yeah, well,
Lawson
Lucky. Yep, you got Oscar Delp. You got obviously Brock Bowers. I mean, dude, it's a factory right now at the tight end position.
Dude, you're not talking about Lad McConkey. I mean, at one point, I think I remember I tweeted something about how like Pepper. I said something about how like Oscar. Or it was McConkey ran like a fantastic route, and he was wide open, and he just like whatever they wanted to do, they did. And again, I know it's a spring game, but we saw that last year when Stetson. He was like 18 to 40 or something in that game. So I don't think it's like one of those things where you're just picking apart a defense that's not very good, or it's like they're just giving you everything. McConkey was so open. I was like, I haven't seen white people like this open since like my last group therapy session because this is fucking unbelievable.
Three-peat.
All I wanted out of Saturday was a reason to convince me why Georgia was not going to just fucking just backstroke their way through a 12-game schedule and be undefeated. But I don't see anyone that is going to like. I don't see anybody close to Georgia right now. I don't see anybody close to Georgia.
They did lose Bear Alexander to the portal, which he is a big piece of that D-line. I mean, I think he had 2 sacks in the national championship game.
He did.
And he was a true freshman last year. So that is a loss for them. It appears to be this new age of basically USC, Texas, teams like that with huge NIL pockets coming in and saying, hey, we have a better opportunity for you. And so that's what appears to be happening there, allegedly.
Okay, so what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, look, I don't love that we're there. I still think that I think it's weird. I wish that teams would agree to not tamper with each other's players. Like if someone wants to go into the portal on their own accord, that's totally fine. But if you're being approached and convinced to go into the portal, that just starts to get a little bit weird for me. I don't know. What about you?
I mean, I guess my thing is, and I'm just going to be honest about this, is I think it's just it sucks, but it's definitely going to happen. And it'd be one thing if like negative, like I love the reaction out of all these people that are like the coaches, because it's definitely an issue. We like Kiffin's talked about a bunch with Quinshot Junkins. Like Auburn was going after him hard last year because he grew up like I think he was from like Montgomery or something like that, and like they could use all the help they could get, and especially if Kiffin was going to be coming to Auburn, like what people thought at times. But like negative recruiting has been a part of college football for quite some time. Mm-hmm. I'll give you a very specific example. And it's why it's very difficult for me to find any sort of sympathy. Like not even just because of the fact that the sheer talent they have behind or around this kid, even if he leaves. But again, when Kirby Smart left Alabama, the last thing he did when he walked out those doors and left his office was take a picture of the fucking recruiting board and then send it to other recruits and say, this is where they have you rated. This is what they think of you. If you come to Georgia, this is what you'll play right away. And that's smart. It's kind of slimy and gross and whatever. Like it's going to have like a bad reaction or like the perception of it, but it's what you do in this business. And like, it's one of the reasons why Kirby Smart's a fucking killer and he's beating everyone because he doesn't have like, I don't think he's got a conscience. Like he's like, go to church. If you're scared, go to church. Okay. Just, I don't know what to tell you. Like this is like the state of football and where it's at now. And it's also like Brock. Yeah. I mean like, yeah, but so here's the thing. I think Georgia fans are kind of a little surprised about this because they haven't had to go through it yet. Remember, they didn't lose anybody last year.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, so just for those that are on audio only, William Gray says we lost 3 players. Speaking of Georgia, we lost 3 players today, and Brock said he's uncertain about staying too. Is that?
Right.
Oh, Brock Vandegrift. I was about to say, yeah, not Brock
Yeah.
Bowers. Yes, I did hear that Brock Vandegrift did say that. And, you know, that's not surprising. We've been talking about that, how that's probably going to happen.
Here's the other thing, too, real quick. When it comes to recruiting, I like, it does suck that, like, you're going to have kids that are, like, the amount of like, never-ending work that has to go into coaching now. I've said this for a couple of years now. It's exhausting to even think about because, like, you have to recruit the kids earlier, more often, make them feel more wanted, get them on your campus, get them to commit, keep them on campus because you can go, like, you know, the rules are so. There's a kid today that transferred from Bama, has been there for like 3 months. It's a kid at Oklahoma did the same thing. So now you have to actively keep recruiting them and all that kind of stuff. And like, so it just never stops. But
Right.
that being said, Georgia they spent $4.5 million in recruiting last year. It was over $1.5 million more than any other team in the SEC and $1.1 million more than any other team in college football. So what I think they have the resources. I know it's different than NIL necessarily, and there may be a better opportunity to go to USC. If you want to go to USC, man, like because Georgia's putting out first round defensive linemen, especially like clockwork.
Right.
You know, you're the next great one in line after Jalen Carter, after Jordan Davis. And that's something to be said, or something to be said for that. But like, I think that if Kirby wanted to keep him, Kirby probably would have found a way to keep him.
Yeah, there does seem to be more than just you know, salty or bitter Georgia fans, but like actual unbiased people saying, I don't think Georgia's too worried about losing him.
Yeah.
Not going to lose sleep over it. I don't know what that's about. I won't speculate, but just I saw it was interesting. Certainly. Anything else on Georgia before we move on?
No.
All right. We talked about Florida. Miami had their game on Friday. They were in like a soccer stadium, I believe.
It could be, you could, whatever. You could tell me they played in a lacrosse stadium, and I would ask
Yeah.
you if it was still half full.
Like to me, like okay, like Van Dyke looked okay. They're gonna have to start a true freshman at tackle. They've got a lot of stuff going on. So their whole NIL John Ruiz thing, he's I think going broke, which shocker of the century, right?
Wait, what?
Um, his whole publicly traded business is like about to be delisted from the stock exchange. What that means, Chris, is that
Yeah, thank you.
business is bad. I think that if Miami doesn't win 8 games this year, that thing could go south in a hurry because it was all predicated off having a ton of NIL money, putting a bunch of resources into the program. Cristobal's never been a great head coach. He's been a great recruiter, but
Isn't he like
again,
1 in 10 at FIU or something?
yeah, he got fired from FIU as head coach.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So, anyways, I just it'll be interesting to watch Miami this year. We don't have to talk too much about them. What about Clemson?
Yeah.
New
So
OC.
this was one of my favorite things from Saturday was them getting owned by South Carolina again. It's like because I think Dabo's in a little bit of trouble in terms of he hasn't really had to like motivate the troops. Like Clemson fans seemed fine to me until they started winning. I know that a lot of people who interact with them more than I do. I don't have a problem with Clemson fans.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, a lot of people that do have to interact with them said like they've been on another level obnoxious since they won. If you ever follow message board geniuses on Twitter or social media, and they always post these like ridiculous rants on social media from people overreacting. The stuff that people say from Clemson is like it's so fucking batshit QAnon type crazy. It is because it's like it's fascinating to read because it's stuff like that somebody believes it and they're like it's always some conspiracy theory and somehow they always weave the Lord into it and it's incredible to watch. Other than that, I don't watch the game.
Well, Garrett Riley just came over from TCU. He's been pretty much good wherever I think he was at SMU before that, TCU now, and he's a really good offensive coordinator. They've had good games and games where they were outmatched, good games when they were the favorites. I think he's gonna be a good coach, and I don't think he's showed absolutely anything in this game. I'm watching the wide receivers. It used to be that Clemson always had really good wide receivers,
or at least
and
one.
yeah, and I don't know. They've got Antonio Williams. I think he's a guy that's okay. He's not a first round pick, but they lost a lot at wide receiver over the years and haven't really done a great job of replacing that. And also, they lost a lot this year along the D line. Brian Brzee, Miles Murphy, his name's slipping, but they're stud linebacker. So they going to hit the portal? That's a question I want to know. Is this spring, if they saw some holes in their roster, Dabo has been very, very hesitant to use the portal. So I'll just be interested to see what they do there as well.
Yeah, the comment section has been incredible tonight. Somebody said, speaking of white guys on the field, Dabo gets so excited about people that look like his son.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to argue that either.
This is a good. Bobby Smith had a good point here. Peter Woods, who is a 5-star out of Alabama, freshman, he's going to be really good.
Well, and so that and I don't mean something dismissive about Clemson and watching the game, because I think they're going to be good. I don't think they are recruiting at quite the level they were before, because it's hard. Again, it's hard to keep up with a top 3 class seems like every single year, and the generational talent they're bringing in. They still have a ton of talent. They still recruited really well, better than anyone else in the ACC for the most part. I don't have any questions about Clemson, because it's kind of just this, they're like an even more, they're like off-brand Alabama. It's like, okay, like we know they're going to be good. We got to deal with them in the year, and they're going to be in the contention or talk about the playoff. But I don't know anything until I see them play against somebody else. And honestly, not to be a dick, but even because the ACC is so bad, even when they play on the field at the start of the season, I still don't think we learn anything. It's like they beat Georgia Tech 14-8 a couple of years ago, and I was like, oh, so obviously Clemson's bad. And it's like, oh no, they're not that bad.
Right. Yeah. No, they'll it'll be Florida State and Clemson for sure, I think, this year. Speaking of that, I was at the Florida State spring game, stopped into Tallahassee. Great time, as always. Saw nothing that would deter me from thinking that Florida State should be competing to make the playoff this year. I think there's a couple of holes that they could fill in the portal for some depth pieces. But, man, the job that Mike Norvell and Alex Atkins have done to basically revitalize the trenches, especially on the offensive side, has been amazing. It's the first time in a long time we've been able to field 2 full starting offensive lines to play each other in a game and not have major drop off, considerable drop off. So the depth finally there. It's taken what seems like damn decade, but I'm really excited about Florida State's team this year. Hopefully, Jordan Travis needs to stay healthy.
Yeah, I don't know if it everything hinges off of that necessarily, just that, because I think they're good. But yes, he does. He this could be a special year if he is healthy.
Yeah, I agree. And yes, the weakest conference is probably the ACC. I agree, Herman Brown. I wouldn't argue with you otherwise.
Not Pac-12 anymore.
Yep. We'll just leave this comment up as we go to the next one. Okay. All right. Who's next? Let's see. What about? Oh, I did want to shout out in the Virginia game, Mike Collins, who was cool. In that horrible shooting earlier this year, or actually at the end of last year in the middle of the season. So Virginia hadn't played a game in front of a crowd up until the spring game. Mike Collins was a part of that. Fortunately, he lived through it and he was able to play in this game. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Some more comments. Herman Brown, I do miss you. And also, Willie Grace, the Virginia thing. So this is I was so excited for the 31 games being on TV. And it was I'm sure it was a me problem, but it was impossible with streaming to go from game to game to game. So I mean, there's still a bunch to get to. One thing, let's talk about Ohio State. One thing we learned from Ohio State. Sounds like the quarterback situation is not completely done yet.
Yeah. It sounds like McCord is probably favored to be the guy. But it's not where we're watching like Carson Beck and being like, yeah, that's definitely going to be the
Yeah.
guy for Georgia. From what full transparency, I didn't watch the entire game. It sounds like they really struggled at offensive tackle. So again, you talk about
they got like fucking monsters on the DN too, though. Like they've recruited really well at that position always.
yeah, and they're losing 2 really good O tackles to this draft, and they've probably had some misses behind them. And so this is what I talk about when you talk about a team like Florida who is in desperate need of an offensive tackle. If an elite portal hits an elite O tackle hits the portal, where are they more likely to go? You're gonna have to compete against Ohio State, who, look, if you're getting a transfer, this guy wants to come in and play immediately and probably be successful.
Mm-hmm.
You go to Ohio State, who's stacked talent upon talent over the course of the last decade, or you could go to Florida. And while they may be good eventually, I don't think next year is going to be the year for them. And so this is what I talk about when everyone always needs an offensive tackle.
Yeah.
I mean, think about Bama last year. Like, they went and took Tyler Steen from Vanderbilt. Like, everyone needs tackles. So
Tyler Steen had the most fucking like forgotten about transfer year out of any player, I think, that in the SEC history. I don't think it's even a bad thing, but it's just like the only thing I remember about Tyler Steen last year, I don't remember a single game that he was good or bad in, but PFF posted something. It was like, he is graded out at his season best this weekend against so and so, and it was like 72.5. I was like, oh, I don't know what.
Herman Brown wants to talk about South Carolina.
Let's do it. Also, real quick, Ohio State. I don't know who fucking starts, and I'm not. I said it as a joke last week, but it's not a joke because I couldn't. You can't have a quarterback wearing number 33. You just can't do it. I don't want. It can't. Just stop.
I don't want to see that on my screen. Honestly,
I don't, and I don't want to sound old. Like, I know when baseball players started wearing like fucking like number 81. I was like, that's fucking stupid. I can't. You can't be number 33. You got to stop.
Yep. No, I agree. Yeah, so South Carolina, I will make one comment before you can get into maybe something you saw in the game. Shout out to Coach Beamer and the recruiting class they're putting together. I noticed that they have 2 very highly ranked offensive tackles. They're probably the 2 top players coming out of South Carolina this year, both at offensive tackle. Beat out Clemson for both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you never know. Maybe the tide's turning there in that state. But anyways.
I will say there's a big opportunity in the state of South Carolina when it comes to recruiting, because it's not a state that puts out a bunch of talent. They average around like between like 5 to 8, maybe sometimes 10, but rarely double digits, 4 stars and above. It's consistently pretty low in that state. It's a smaller state. I've said this before. I remember my parents were there in 2004. It's obviously Jesus Christ, that was 20 years. There were 5 million people in Metro Atlanta at the time. There were 4 million in the state of South Carolina. Like, it's just a smaller place. That being said, there's a big opportunity there because Clemson hasn't really prioritized the state of South Carolina in their recruiting at all. Like, it's never been a thing that Dabo's talked about or worked towards or try to make a focus. Like, so there's an opportunity there for Beamer, especially with how much more exciting it is to play for him than it is for Dabo, right?
Well, I'm gonna bring this up real quick, and we can continue to touch on this, but this is 247's ranking of players in South Carolina.
Yikes. What'd I say?
So to your point, yeah, usually about 6. But look at this. Number 1, South Carolina, going to South Carolina. Number 2, crystal ball to go to South Carolina. Number 3, South Carolina. Number 4 is crystal ball to Clemson, but then down the road, 6 and 7 already committed to South Carolina. So
you know what this tells me more than anything that's more impressive? Because it's like, there's some 4 stars in there. I don't see a single G. I don't see a single orange T.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see, like a UNC logo. Like, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. One thing I learned from South Carolina in their spring game. The thing I learned most is that South Carolina is petty, and like they are. It's so much fun to watch that state and that like program. They're great at social media and like their video stuff. I can't remember the guy's name for some reason, but he used to work with us, I think, even way back in the day. They do a great job with their social media team, like hyping stuff up. And let's not kid ourselves. Like, I understand that like it's been some down years for football, but they were averaging a ton. I think they like averaging I want to say it was over 10,000, but maybe I'm wrong. For like their women's basketball games, like at the end of the year last year. Clemson reported they had 50,000 total people at their spring game. You want to guess what South Carolina reported for theirs?
50,001.
That would have been better, but no,
Okay.
51,000.
I love that.
Yeah. And then watching the game itself, I think there's going to be some struggles, and I'm just going to go ahead and like admit it, and I'm just going to get this off my chest. I'm going to feel so much better about it, because every time I talk about South Carolina, I go to this place where I'm doubting South Carolina, because like they haven't recruited to the same level of other people. Rattler wasn't that great last year at times, but they beat 2 top 10 teams back to back. They beat the shit out of Tennessee. They beat Clemson. They almost beat Notre Dame in a bowl game. Everything that I say or think negatively about South Carolina is never correct, ever. I'm always wrong about South Carolina if it's something bad. I'm always wrong about it. So my biggest thing I learned is that like I'm gonna stop making takes on that school, because Shane Beamer knows way more than I do, and like I don't think that he's like using any of like the negativity for like as motivation, but that guy has done a tremendous job at South Carolina. It's not easy to win at South Carolina.
Correct. Lastly, Texas A&M.
Lastly, what are you talking about? Lastly,
well, we'll be about 45 minutes in on the first topic.
A lot of other teams to talk about.
Okay, go ahead. Texas A&M. Sounds like Wegman might not be the guy after all. Could be Max Johnson.
Kind of surprising, yeah.
I thought that was kind of be like, I felt like Wegman was kind of like the like Jimbo's like saving grace. Like, oh, we got this 5-star. Finally, we're getting to him, and like he's ready. To me, that's not a great sign. Like, I don't think you want Max Johnson winning this job if you're an A&M fan.
Was he was a 5-star?
Wegman was, yeah.
Was it? Okay. Yeah, Max Johnson is. I mean, like I hate to say it, but he's like as underwhelming as his dad. I mean, he does some good things. It's not always like great. Here's what I'll say about Wegman. When was Wegman's first start? Also, every time I hear Wegman, all I can think of is that scene from Rookie of the Year when his idiot friend was like, "You should start Wegman." Oh no, Little Big League. You should start Wegman. I can tell you've seen that movie and you definitely agree. So he had his first start. He didn't play against Florida, but he had his first start against South Carolina, right?
Okay.
That team and their offense was bad for most of the year. Going into the LSU game, I know it was like the last game of the year. They were 102nd in the country in scoring offense and like 96th in passing, or in total offense going into that game. I don't think it improved much after that either. That being said, once he was inserted into the offense, they immediately, they hadn't gained over 400 yards against an FBS opponent. Hadn't gained over 350 except for one time against Mississippi State, and that was when they were down by like 30 in the second half. They were at 398, 480, 413, 398 again, 429 to close out the year. The offense was not night and day, I don't want to say, but it was much better than it had been before. He wasn't great against Auburn, but they were a lot better in comparison to where they were. Now they didn't win like a bunch of games necessarily, but I was surprised that Wegman wasn't the guy. But competition's always good, and you have to go into the fall. Just what I don't see from Texas A&M, and this now granted the stud receiver they had, the freshman from last year, Evan Stewart, was out. I don't see a guy on that team that is making me super scared. Like that's a difference maker.
Yeah, I mean, look, so they've had 26 guys, I believe, leave in the portal since the end of the year last year. Now that could be a good thing or a bad thing. I don't really know. Because they clearly had some cultural issues going on last year. Yep. To me, man, this feels like Jimbo's last stand in a sense. Like if they don't make a bowl game again next year, he's going to get fired. I don't care what the buyout is.
Yeah.
Now maybe we're just in a horrible economy by then, and he can somehow. But I mean, and to rest your hopes on Bobby Petrino and him like meshing. Yikes.
Maybe it'll be like what sucks too is that if it was fun to watch Kiffin and Saban. this would be like the worst, just the worst fucking like combination. If it goes well, no one's gonna like it. Like no one's gonna be like, that's a good story, man. I'm pumped to watch that.
Yeah, this is gonna be really fun to watch, I think, from afar if you're not an A&M fan.
Only if it goes bad. If it goes
Yeah.
well, like honestly, it's not gonna be fun for anybody. It's like I'm trying to think of the best example of like it'd be because it's not like Urban Meyer and somebody. It's just like who's like two super unlikely. Like if Florida Georgia Line lost one of like their members and they did, and they replaced him with Luke Bryan, that's this kind of shit. It's like, man, listen, man, I was kind of torn when they split up, but when they brought Luke in, they
Talking about
just took it to
Luke.
another level, man. I love their music now.
Jimbo and Bobby just sounds like the most Dukes of Hazzard shit ever.
Yeah.
All right, what other teams do you want to talk about here?
Ole Miss. And I wanted to talk about this one early. This is, if you're a Bama fan, you had a win on Saturday.
Why is that?
Did you see the score? One thing I learned from Ole Miss is that maybe Pete Golding is the problem, or was the problem in Alabama.
Oh, boy. Now,
when he was in charge of one defense at Alabama, they gave over 50 points for the first time in the history of the program. I think it's the history of the program. Against Tennessee last year. He managed to show up to Oxford and outdo himself on day one in his first public game, as both defenses gave up 50-plus points.
Oof.
53-52 final score. And I'm laughing, and it doesn't really mean that much. And maybe we'll spin it and say, no, it does. It does matter. Because, like, you brought in a coordinator that was supposed to be, like, a little bit of a steal you brought him from a rival. And he wasn't fired. And you brought this guy in. And, I forgot who it was, either PFF or 247 had him as, like, a top 10 defensive coordinator. And I wouldn't even disagree that I don't think he's bad. But giving up over 50 points to both teams on defense is not good. I don't care if it's a spring game. Like, you would have thought there'd be some defense and some improvement. I know it's a Kiffin offense. I understand all that. You didn't go hire him so he could help the team put up more points, like in scrimmages. 50 fucking points is a lot of fucking points.
Well, yeah, I'm willing to look past it, but just put it in a tick mark next to his name. Like, okay, so that wasn't a great start, but let's get back to it in the fall here.
Yeah,
we'll
honestly
see.
Like, I just kept thinking about like what he must have been going through. I think that Pete Golding is about to enter his I'm going to publicly let myself go era. Like, remember how when Russell Crowe, or like was it like Gerard Butler? I think Russell Crowe's the better one. When he was like in shape and he made Gladiator and a couple other movies, and he was like, like Hollywood's like new like it actor. And then there's like a picture of him like 6 years later, and there's like he's like on the beach somewhere, and he looked like Fat Thor. And you're like, oh, like I think that's what Golding's gonna get into, and like because like now he doesn't have like that he walks into Kiffin's office and Kiffin's like, oh, I don't give a shit, it's whatever. Like I'm not like other moms, I'm a cool mom. Like I don't, it's fine. Like we'll just score more points than the other team.
I'm not the moms, I'm a cool mom. What about Mississippi State? You said it was what was it? The most weird game you watched?
No, I was lying. I didn't watch the second of that game.
Oh, okay.
It was interesting because there was like Connor brought up a really good point. I think it was last year. There might have been his entire career, but Will Rogers only had 3 touchdowns of 50 yards or more in his career. I think his career might have been last year, though. Like I said, because that offense is predicated like when it was under Mike Leach, like rest in peace. But it was like short, intermediate passes. This offense is different, and they'll throw it a little bit longer, obviously, or throw it deeper. Try to spread people out and be a little bit more modern with it. So it's interesting to see Rogers transition from that. I don't think anyone is pulling against this team this year. Like I think we'd all love to see them have success just because of like what they had to go through at the end of last season, losing Mike Leach. And for Rogers too, because Rogers just seems like he's constantly underrated. And if he can succeed in this offense and have anything remotely close to the numbers he put up in the under Leach, it'd be great.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we'll see it. It's, I mean, they're gonna have a drastic. I don't know, and you may not either. But are they drastically changing from the air raid stuff?
I would assume so because that's like no one runs that.
But everybody runs that.
The air raid?
Yeah.
Everybody runs.
Versions of
Nobody runs an air raid where they're throwing the ball 6 times a game at 7
Yeah.
to 9 yards at a time. Like nobody's running a death by 1,000 paper cuts in like Division I football anymore.
All right. Any other teams you want to cover before we move on?
We miss anything? No, it's fine.
NFL draft update? Question mark?
We can get more into it next week. We have a special guest coming on, Annie Agar, which I am very excited about. That's all I'll say. So she'll be coming on next Monday, and she does a lot of stuff with like NFL. She's hilarious. She's like on social media about it. We'll talk some NFL draft stuff with her next Wednesday or next Monday, and then probably have more of a breakdown like the betting stuff on Wednesday. That's our week to shine. Prop bets, all good stuff. The only news that really to break, and I don't want to get too into it because like I said, we're going to talk about it more in the next episodes. Bryce Young is a lock apparently to go to Carolina. It sounds like he's canceled all of his other team visits. So the only I'm just like reading these off as like a quick snippet of the news. Like that was one thing that was interesting. The other part, Hendon Hooker is now seems to be firmly as projected in the first round. There's been several people that said
that's crazy. Good for him.
I don't think his story. Story kind of does it doesn't do it just or does it like a disservice because it's not some oh man, we're all pulling for this kid because he wasn't he's a great kid, he's a good leader. He seems like he has incredibly genuine people skills and leadership skills, and the numbers are stupid. The numbers were stupid not just because he's in Heupel's offense. You just don't go 2 years and throw 5 interceptions in the SEC. You just don't do it.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm rooting for him. I mean, I felt awful when he tore his ACL, and to hopefully have it not matter too much when it comes to his draft prospects is great.
You hear about Stetson?
I did not.
So apparently, now the trending rumor or whatever is that there's a lot of people think he won't get drafted at all.
Why?
Because of his in-person meetings and his it's off the field intangibles.
Yeah.
So we've talked about Stetson enough on this podcast, but I just want to get your opinion on this because I was talking to somebody about it earlier today. I think Stetson Bennett should be drafted. I think he's a quarterback that could play at the next level, at least, or especially over some of the other people that I know have been drafted in the past or will get drafted this year. I think he's a good quarterback. I think he's he gets shit on a lot for a lot of reasons, whatever. Stetson Bennett had the fucking keys to the mansion with the whole Rudy story. There wasn't anybody besides his own fan base that was against Stetson Bennett. And then he becomes this national story that everyone knows. And it's such a great, it's a former walk-on, and he was told he wasn't going to start there, and he beat out all these guys, and now 2 back-to-back national champions. And he had that moment at the parade where he said what he said, about the media doubting him and everything like that. And I think also the fans. I thought that was it was going to be a defining moment where he stood up for himself. I think maybe Stetson's just not the best dude. I don't
Yeah.
It feels like he either the chip on his shoulder is so big that he's fuck this, I don't give a shit or whatever. But man, he was given honestly, just from what I know about sports fans in America, a white walk-on quarterback, everyone loves this kid, and he's fuck it, I don't want it, I don't care. Which is not a bad thing, even, but it's just it's just been funny to watch unfold. And also, here's the thing too about the draft: if you're drafted in the 5th round or beyond, it doesn't really matter because those guys aren't even guaranteed a spot that season on the roster.
Right. Yeah, no, I think Stetson will get drafted still, though. I mean, unless his interviews were awful, which obviously I have no privy to that information. But yeah, I mean, I'd take him as the backup on the Falcons.
I think him as a starter on the Falcons.
Okay, top 5.
Yeah, top 5. Okay, so top 5, we're going to do our weekly segment, top 5 rankings, and this week we're going to do uniforms.
Yep. So I'm going to show this real quick because it's just beautiful. These are the new uniforms Florida State announced at the spring game this weekend. So if you remember the last couple years, they've had all this down here, way too much going on.
There's a lot going on.
This coincides, by the way, with us being bad. We switched our jerseys right after the national championship. So glad we're going back to more of a condensed look, much more like what we used to have. So I'm excited about that. And it got me thinking, Florida State, always been one of my favorite unis, obviously. Top 5 unis.
Yeah.
In college football. I'm going to let you go first.
No, you go first.
Okay. So, gosh, there's a lot of good ones. I think I'm going to start with LSU.
I don't think it's that great. I don't know why everyone loves that uniform so much. I love LSU. I just don't get it.
No, I love there's something regal looking about the gold or the yellow and the purple together.
Purple is actually a regal color. It's actually described as that.
It's very, I don't know, it's royal.
Yeah.
So I really like their jerseys. I like not only their whites, but then when they wear the purples, I think
never put a good gold uniform out ever once.
Yeah, that would be weird.
The purple's legit.
Yeah.
Purple and white?
I'm not going to say but they're my number 1 jerseys, but they're just in my top 5.
I think the purple jersey with the white helmet is the best thing they have. It's incredible.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, you go.
No, you're up.
Oh, okay. I'm going to go. All right, then I'm going to take Texas. I think out of any...
You're just giving the top 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the top 5. So I'm going to take Texas. Out of any school that wears orange, which I don't generally like most schools that wear orange. Yeah. Miami, Clemson. I don't mind Texas, but I think they've got the best color of orange. Plus, with that white helmet with the Longhorn on it, really like that. Another one in my top 5 I'm going to take is USC.
Mm-hmm.
For whatever reason, I connect USC with like when I was in late high school, early college, they were dominant. I think about domination with Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart. They've been wearing the same jersey for years, which I think is cool. You don't get that a ton these days. So I'm going to take them. One a little bit more off the beaten path, but I still like them a lot is UNC.
Yeah. They like there's a combination of their jersey that they don't wear enough of, and I don't even know which one it is, but like that's the best color in all of sports.
Yeah, I agree. I like that color. And so they've done some really cool stuff with it over the years. I even like when they wear their Navy jerseys. And then my last top 5, I'll probably go. I'm not a big fan of what Oregon does. And to be fair, I was not a fan of what Florida State has been doing with all these other like weird jerseys. I like sticking to the basics. And with that, I think I gotta go in total with the helmet is Michigan. Classic jersey that has basically been the same forever. Yeah. I think they've got one of the coolest helmets, most iconic helmets in college football. So I'm gonna go Michigan as my last one.
So, and I'm gonna do specifically home or away because I think that some of them are so bad away. Like Michigan road, like they suck. Like they're awful. They're not good uniforms. I like what you said about Oregon because I think at some point, like, you got like a fucking, it's like that closet in Clueless. It's like there's endless opportunities to like match what like there's a girl I follow on Instagram. It's like a friend of mine that lives out there, and she's a diehard Oregon fan.
Yeah.
Every time she posts something about like showing her collection of like Oregon, I'm like, what kind of fucking disposable income do you have?
To have that many jerseys. Yeah, it's too much. You can't tie one thing to them. Like there's not a classic Oregon jersey, it feels like at this point.
Also, James Spivey has been in here twice in the history. He texts me more than that a week, and he's only been in this live show twice. And every time he's in here, he always says some negative shit about the video feed being down. And if it is down, I'm sorry. But also, no, I think it should be working for everyone. All right, so here's mine. Shout out real quick, honorable mention, the best uniform in the NFL is the Dolphins home uniforms. That color.
They are clean. They are clean.
Okay, here's what I have. Where's my list? Where did I put it? At number 5, Texas. The home Texas uniforms. Honestly, the away ones are pretty sick too. I like that. At number 4, unpopular opinion, UCLA. I love that color scheme.
I had them between them and Michigan.
At number 1?
Well, I didn't really rank mine. Those are my top 5.
Okay. I like UCLA. That's like the only reason I chose these colors for the fucking podcast. It's just like I think it's like the best. It's the best looking color I think combo in the country. And then so I'm trying to think. Like Notre Dame is probably Notre Dame is 2, and actually I went out of order. 3 is Penn State home uniforms.
Mm-hmm.
On the road, let's maybe we add a stripe somewhere, guys. I don't know. Like I don't. It's funny because like for a lot of the schools, and they talk about how it's like you love this classic look, and it's like no, you just know that whoever was in charge of doing the uniforms, like I don't listen. Like my hands are shaky now. You know how I've gotten with that old age. I can't fucking put these things together. Okay, I'm not adding any more shit to the uniform, or it looks fine the way it is. Or it's like some old gruff guy who's like, listen, I don't want to put too many color combinations on here because I'm afraid it might turn the players gay. So we need to make sure everything just stays the same. Number two is Michigan, only at home. Their home uniforms are awesome. The helmet is the best. Number 1 is Notre Dame. Honestly, like it's that helmet is incredible. I love that. I love that uniform. And honestly, the away one's not bad either. That's why I put them at number 1 over Michigan. Side note, there's 3 SEC road uniforms that are sick, but they don't always wear them. And it's South Carolina has like the icy whites. Auburn. I love Auburn's road uniforms in general. When they added the orange mask, I made fun of it a lot on Twitter. Don't tell anybody, but I also thought that was pretty cool. And then Mizzou has an all white. Like I think they're the first one that came with the icy white thing. It is legit. It has like a different M on the side. The Mizzou has like some really, really like, I don't want to over exaggerate it, but like I think like maybe the best alternate uniforms in the country, and they just refuse to wear anything but the shittiest home uniforms ever.
Missouri, interesting. Didn't see that one coming.
We'll have to talk about it on the next episode, but Home Field Apparel has come out with like their newest line this week, and it's Bama and Auburn and a couple other SEC schools. We're going to have to do a segment on next week's episode. I did a video about it today, but like whoever was designing fucking logos,
I did see that video. That was funny.
Like what was happening in the 20s and 30s when people were trying to come up with mascots? Like I just assume that nobody knew how to draw, like for one, and also nobody had ever seen animals. So it's just like if you're like asking, like, hey, listen, we're gonna get a mascot. It's gonna be an elephant. Like, and it's like 1934 in Alabama. You know damn well nobody in that fucking state had seen an elephant in person before. He could have drawn an airplane and be like, this is it. And he would have been like, yeah, that's what I was thinking too, brother. That's all. Audience questions?
Yes.
Okay. All right. These are all from one person, Mickey Sheremy. We love you, Mickey. Thank you for throwing these in here. Let's start. Okay, what funny meme or video will always be funny to you no matter how old it is?
Oh man. Okay, let me think about this here.
Well, I'll go first.
Okay.
The video that came out like when YouTube first got big in like 2007, that little black kid, it's like a commercial for like it's a commercial for like a healthcare system, and he's like telling some story, and he's got a stutter, and he's like, yeah, me and my mom were watching this movie, and it may have punched him, and he's just going on and on like rambling, and all of a sudden he goes, you know what he did? He kicked him in the penis. He was injured dad.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
That's a favorite ever.
Okay, so one of my favorites ever is it was an old, and this is reaching back to like when I was in college, but Andrew, You Are Not the Father.
What?
Have you ever seen Andrew, You Are Not the Father?
Mm-mm.
Dude, I gotta show you this. Let me find it real quick and go to the next one.
Next question.
Yep.
Okay. I don't like that one. He said, what's your opinion on euthanasia? You know, I think they're not as dominant in like the Little League World Series anymore. And I think that's because of Apple probably soliciting work out of most of the euthanasia. But I don't know. I hope we start regulating child working laws over there for sure. Because the euthanasia is probably a big problem. How's that?
Oh, no.
Here's one. Do you fry your bologna or raw dog it?
I'm not a big bologna guy, to be honest.
I'm just concerned that people still are. It's fucking disgusting.
Yeah, where do you get bologna from?
The store.
Well, you get meat from places. Like, where does bologna
Oh,
come from?
like on an actual. Okay, I'm dumb. Okay, yeah.
All right, here, I got to show you this. And if you haven't seen it, this is incredible. It's in like SD because it was like back in like 2006. But so this is on the Maury Povich show, and this guy finding out that he's obviously not the father. I've already kind of given that away, but it's hilarious because someone dubs in. I think it's Bubba Sparks, maybe. Just
okay.
Watch.
I feel like I've seen this.
I'm not 100. I'm not 200. I'm 5,000%. Andrew, you are not the
father. Bubba Sparks, you idiot! This is Outcast.
Yeah, sorry. She's crying. He's out there.
Ready for action, if it in the club, we never relax and I'm out.
Look at him. He comes back in. He's still going.
Yeah, I hope that part of that seems like it's back in the day when like most of the stories were real on top.
That's so
like
good.
Daytime TV. But man, that's a tough situation. That
one cracks me up still every time I watch it. So and then that one in Cousin Terrio.
Yeah, Cousin Terrio is awesome. Yeah, Cousin Terrio honestly is
Ooh, kill him. Ooh, kill him.
Ooh, kill him. That is a good one. Okay, last question. Yeah, the bologna thing. I thought, but the last time I've even been around bologna was when I was in jail, and that was in 2013. So I just didn't know people were still. There's so many options, guys. There's like, here's the thing. When you go to a store, and I'm assuming you have like your budget for meat is probably not limited to bologna, but like if you go to a store and you see, oh, here is ham, here's turkey, here's like another variation of turkey, here's 8 more variations of turkey. Like, what's going on in life that you're like, you know what though? I wouldn't mind a piece of deli meat that is perfect in circular shape and cut thicker for no reason. Like it's like it's like a melted down candle. Like that's the thickness of it. It's like the bottom of like a wheel of cheese is what it looks like. There's like a rind on the outside.
I gotta be honest here. If you're over the age of 10 and you eat bologna, like just like a bologna sandwich, I can't trust you. I really can't. The only thing that bologna was good for was folding it in half, biting it in 2 spots, opening it up, and then you got a spot for your eyes.
I just want to let you know that I know where we are both in our life right now, and I know that I'm like tremendously behind so many people as an adult.
Yeah.
But even as a kid, I was better than that. Okay. Last question. Oh, this is a good one. 10 years old, Saturday morning with a bowl of cereal. What cartoon are you putting on?
Hold on. Repeat this.
If you're 10 years old,
okay,
Saturday morning, 10 a.m. What bowl of cereal? What cartoons are you putting on?
Doug.
Doug didn't come on at 10, but yes.
Well, yeah, I don't remember the times. I'm not a time guy.
Doug was a prime time. Doug and Rugrats were 7:15 and 7:30.
Love Doug. Hey Arnold was a great one. Love that one.
Yeah.
I love G.I. Joe's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Okay.
But I'd say Doug was probably my number one. I don't know if it didn't come on at 10. Oh, what about Bobby's World?
Bobby's World was pretty good. See, I hate to sound like this. Probably won't shock most of you, but like, I never really got into cartoons. Like I watched like Saved by the Bell a lot, but I didn't like Doug. I watched all the time. I love Doug. Mm-hmm. I never really got into Hey Arnold. Never Looney Tunes. I thought that was like, I didn't understand that at all. Like Mickey Mouse stuff, I didn't get.
Yeah, I wasn't a huge. Well, remember Disney used to be like premium channel.
Yeah, well,
so yeah. I never like we never had Disney really until it became on cable, and that's when I started watching Bug Juice.
Bug Juice is the best.
Or Bug Juice and
reference. Like there's, I feel like I enjoyed some of these shows, or maybe I'm just nostalgic and enjoy the references, but I just never watched them like enough. Like I would watch Sports Center on Saturday mornings usually, or like Saved by the Bell. Like there was like a 10 a.m. to noon on NBC. They did like their teen shows, whatever. So it was like there was Hang Time. I used to fucking love Hang Time. It was like a basketball show. There was like Saved by the Bell and New Class. It was all just a bunch of variations of Saved by the Bell.
What about do you have it?
Guts. That is probably what I was watching. That and Double Dare.
Dude, those shows were great. And like Legends of the Hidden Temple.
Yeah.
Like all those types of games.
That's where Panic Attacks actually originated.
Oh yeah.
Like, but I miss those shows more than anything. Those shows were awesome because it'd be like the Guts thing was so funny because like Mike O'Malley made it so serious, and like what Disney was doing was so far ahead of their time, or Nickelodeon was so far ahead of their time. They're like, we've got 3 elite athletes, and it's like, I'm Brennan, I'm 11, I live in Ocala, and you're like, none of these kids were like good athletes at all. And like all the like the events, it wasn't like an actual athletic battle. They were all super assisted from like whatever contraption they were fucking hooked up to. Like the bungee cords were doing all the work.
Like the basketball where they jump down.
So, like,
let's go to the Mo for the leaderboard, Mo.
But every person in this listening to this right now, like either has been or knows someone that broke a bone or something of their mom's in their house trying to recreate one of the things on Guts. I did it multiple times. But my favorite part of that whole thing is he'd be like, all right, talk about the aggro crag.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, we've got 100,000 pounds of molten lava, and he's like dressing the whole thing up. He's like, let's take it to Mo. All right, Mike, we've got Brennan on the blue team with 11 points. Also, we'll close with this, by the way. The best flex in the history of flexes for one, and also like winning the breakup. Ashley, when she moved to New York, right? We didn't end super amicably. Like,
wow, no way.
But she moved to New York, and we had squashed everything, whatever, for the most part. But there was this incident that I couldn't get over because in March, like basically we broke up. She moved to New York. Bama beat Clemson, or Bama lost to Clemson. I said some things I shouldn't have, and we didn't speak for months. So it had been at least 3 months. I dated this person for 2 years, whatever. Don't hear a thing from her. At like 1:30 in the morning, she texted me, and I was out drinking, and it was like a weeknight. And I was like, what's up? And she's like, hey, do you remember the show Guts? And I was like, yeah, Guts was fucking awesome. Like, why? Like, and I'm like assuming, like, is there something did you meet Mike O'Malley? Or like what? She goes, I just want to let you know, I just hooked up with this guy, and this is in his room, and shows me a picture of his apartment. The fucking aggro crag is in there. He won.
He had a glowing piece of the rock. Was it still glowing?
No, it wasn't still glowing.
But
I mean, she was.
That's bullshit.
Yeah. It was awesome. It was an incredible flex.
Yeah, that is incredible flex. Yeah, my fraternity brother used to go around in college telling girls that he had a glowing piece of the rock at home if they wanted to come see it. It sounds weird. It didn't work. All right. Well, that's a weird way to end the show, but we've been at it for an hour 15. So we appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll be back with another episode later this week. And there's some good stuff coming for the pod. So keep tuning in.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.